Hello and welcome to another gameplay cast video. Today, let us discuss the sad and sorry state of Xbox. Maybe it's not sad, maybe you were never on Xbox's side, but it's a sad day for me as I pack up my Xbox and complete its eBay listing. I'm mainly sad because I'm looking at my over 100,000 gamer score and thinking, God, I wasted my time. I'm looking at the save files I've got for games that I intended to go back to and complete, and I'm packaging them all up and putting them on eBay. And mainly it's just, it's all that history of gaming that I've kind of lost now and that I'm going to lose. And I feel like actually when I make this sale, I hope it sells, and I hope it sells for more than 20p. And when it makes that sale, I just don't see that I'm ever going to buy another Microsoft console. I think you can see from my last video when the wheels fell off with Game Pass, when they just doubled the premium price or whatever it was. And, is there hope now that Asher Sharma's come in as the knight in shining armour to save Xbox and save Microsoft and restore Game Pass to its greatness? And yes, Game Pass is still probably quite a good deal if you look at it. Arguably, I'm sure some people in the comments will be saying it's the best deal in gaming. But is it? It's almost become a foreign language to actually own things. I mean, without going into politics, I could do that and we'll be here till next Christmas. But the point is not that there's anything wrong with the idea of the service, and there's nothing wrong with the future direction of a lot of these big companies in the sense of going towards cloud gaming. The problem is that there's a lot of, I think, insidiousness to the reasons why they want to do it. These AAA studios and big companies in general have proven time and time again that sort of the bigger they are, the less you can trust them. And we can see with things, every time a game comes out that's live service, you pay your money, you pay your £60, your £70, your £80, your £100, you get your DLC special edition for £120, and then if the game doesn't take off and hit the exact zeitgeist that they want, and I'm not even talking about Concords here and Bungie's whatever that marathon piece of crap is, I'm talking about actual ones that are sort of semi-successful and have a fan base, but as happens with these games, you have a big spike at the start and then it dwindles and then it spikes back up when there's more content and DLC and things. But sometimes if those games don't hit the exact targets that they want, a lot of these companies do not hesitate in turning the server off. And once that server goes off, you don't get a refund. I know there's things going on in Europe. There's a guy trying to get that changed, and I wish him all the success in the world that he can get that brought in as a law, that when they do that, they have to give the players the ability to play the game or a refund. Now, that's the way it should be, but in that sense, what he's arguing is that you've bought the digital rights. And this is the problem with the model that they're going down. You do not own it in any way, and there's no way of accessing it once they take that away from you. The always online thing, I don't often put a game in the drive. However, if the internet does go down, it would be nice to use the £500 gaming machine. And there's a lot of PC games, I'm sat here on a PC now, and a lot of my Steam games wouldn't work without the internet connection. However, probably quite a few would, and I think we need to get back to the idea that actually owning things that you've paid for, is a bit of a right. We've made an exchange, and it wasn't made clear really that we're going down this, that you're renting the game, you're not buying it, and they'll hide it in terms and conditions and all that. So I think there's something just fundamentally dishonest with the way some of the things are going. And while Game Pass might be a decent offer financially, problem with Xbox is cultural. If you look at the direction of travel, so yes, the new CEO's come in and made some changes, made the price more palatable, but all we're going to see now is the slow uptick, just like your Netflix subscription, where they just add more and more money, slowly, and we'll end up at the same point. It just, instead of it being there yesterday, we're going to be there in 3 years' time. That's exactly where they're going to go. Fine, if you don't care, you just want to pick up and play the latest game for 5 minutes, put it away, fine, whatever. You're not bothered. It does bother me that Xbox doesn't seem to have a soul anymore, that their whole ambition is just to finish third. I don't want to go back to console wars and the sort of childishness of that, but I don't think it's wrong to want Microsoft's flagship game to be exclusive to the Xbox console that I bought. Do you know what I mean? And I think the idea that Halo is now going to be cross-platform, that They've put it into a studio that they've now called Halo Studios, but it's still 343. These guys are consummate failure artists. They've never created a definitive Halo game yet, and they're still getting another bite of the cherry, and all they've done is gone and remake the first game again. I'm sure it's great. It was always a great game though. Remaking it again in Unreal Engine 5. Woo! Really ambitious Microsoft, really good. I think we're past the point now. You should have shut this studio down, and you probably should have put this franchise out to tender if you wanted to really save it. However, it's not going to save it. The game will be fine, but it's not the original Halo game. It's just going to be a skin suit pretending to be it. And the fact that it's on PlayStation is just the biggest travesty. It's kind of like, Mario coming to Xbox. You just know Nintendo will never ever do it, no matter how much money they would likely make from doing that. It's something called a principle, which obviously, as I said earlier, these companies don't seem to have any sort of principles outside of money, and that's the whole point of making a company. We want them to make money, but Xbox, in my opinion, would be making more money if they actually held true to their core principles that they were founded on, which was a hardcore gaming machine for hardcore gamers, not a corporatized slot machine that, you might be getting a decent value financially from Game Pass, but I don't think we're getting a decent deal in terms of the first party IPs that we used to get. The 360 undoubtedly was the king of the castle in terms of exclusivity, in terms of new and exciting games. And to be honest, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm just not looking on Game Pass enough, but all I seem to see is kind of like Call of Duty 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1000, board. Where's the Mass Effects? And I don't mean Mass Effect, I mean, where's the game's equivalent to Mass Effect being built by Xbox Studios? I've got it on the channel there, a review Devoured by Obsidian, and it's just beggars belief that that's an Obsidian game. These are the people who took Fallout, a franchise owned by a different company, and made a better version of it. These are the guys that took Knights of the Old Republic and made Knights of the Old Republic 2, and in my opinion, story beat for beat, yes, the first one's better. But in terms of gameplay, in terms of character development, the RPG mechanics, items, exploration, they did everything better except the great story reveals. That's it. This was a premier RPG company that you were just waiting for them to build the IP that would make their name stand out, that they would tie their sort of Destiny to. Let's not talk about Destiny. But it's just never really happened, and Avowed just shows me that that studio's dead. Starfield, I mean, we all feel like we waited an eternity for that, and it's garbage. It really was just dull, repetitive, kind of pointless work. And we act like it was complicated and that Bethesda had a hard job to do, and I'm sure technically there's loads of hard things to do. The problem is, you've got a game there called No Man's Sky, and all everyone wanted was No Man's Sky with a Bethesda storyline and good graphics. Job done. And I know that's an immensely difficult technical challenge, but Bethesda, again, were one of the world's premier RPG creators. Yes, everyone harps on about it, but when Skyrim first landed, it was that good. It really was. And again, that studio, to me, what have they played recently? The Indiana Jones game. I reviewed that. It was alright, it was decent, but it was average at best. And if you told me that was a Bethesda game, even 10 years ago I'd have thought it was poor. The quality is just not there. And this is quality of writing, quality, everything, quality of performance. I mean, I know Bugfesta or whatever everyone calls them, they're always renowned for their bugs, but it's more to do with the fundamental inability, in my opinion, for them to make solid RPG experiences. God knows what Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be like. I mean, they've been sitting on that now for longer than Starfield, I think, so who knows where these games are going. But what I'm saying is, if you're looking at Microsoft as an entity, or not Microsoft, Xbox, everything around it, everything it's purchased for me is just rotten away. I mean, Blizzard, World of Warcraft players, tell me if I'm wrong. Is World of Warcraft living the high life? Is it the best it's ever been? I very much doubt it. Overwatch, there's another game I enjoyed that just ruined, not necessarily by Microsoft, you know, Blizzard did that all on their own just before they were bought by Microsoft, but I don't see Microsoft coming in, pushing the game back to its core principles and really making it an experience for hardcore gamers. And I'm not saying hardcore to be exclusive, I'm just saying hardcore as in, it was always about gamers first, it was always about getting you the most and the best quality of games out, and it didn't matter if they were edgy, it didn't matter who they were for, you'd get them out on the platform. We've gone past those times, and we've kind of got to look now, obviously, to the AA studios and the up-and-coming people. So, you know, for that, long live Steam, although the Steam machine, which was something I was looking at as a replacement for the Xbox, that price point is slightly eye-watering, so I'm not sure if I'll be making that investment, but we'll see. It might be cheaper to just build my own PC and just have a PC connected to the TV downstairs and the editing rig upstairs. Anyway, we shall see. But I think I briefly went through it in the last video, but I was always a loyalist for Microsoft. You know, the console was never ended in my heart. I went from PlayStation 2 to Xbox 360. BioShock was the launch game, so I got BioShock with the console. About 2 weeks later, Halo 3 launched. Mass Effect was coming out there, and it was an Xbox exclusive at the time. These games were just fantastic, and at the time the PS3 was kind of languishing with about 10 games released, and was about £100 more expensive. So it just didn't compare at the time, and I never looked back. And obviously the Xbox One just destroyed everything, but I genuinely looked at the Series X, and I like the machine. It looks modern, it looks cool, but I spent £500 on that machine. I don't think the effort's been put in to keep it right. I think a lot of the time Microsoft prioritizes the S at the expense of the people who bought the X. And generally, again, I just see the traditional studios that Microsoft bought just do not seem to be performing well at all. And it's kind of the corporate slop, DEI hire galore, employing non-gamers to make games for gamers and then wondering why gamers don't like the games. It couldn't be sort of more simple than that, really. But the positive is, I think the market always wins, and I think, you know, I watch a lot of these videos, you know, I'm probably in a certain space that if you don't like it, comment and, you know, oh, incel and all that rubbish, whatever. We focus on the negative a lot of the time. I mean, as human beings, we have a negative bias built in, so it's sort of natural. But actually, the more I think about it, the more I'm looking at the space. This is all of entertainment, this is cinema, this is TV, this is gaming. And in the West, we're going to go through a refresh, basically. So what we're at the moment is all of the sort of standard franchises. You know, Doctor Who was cancelled the other week. Star Trek's pretty much dead. Apologies to those like Strange New Worlds, but it's terrible. Star Wars is as good as dead. A lot of the gaming franchises are on the ropes. This is a good thing, right? It's not a good thing when you want to buy your favourite game and you know, the 5th title and it comes out and it's rubbish. What I mean is, it's a good thing for us, for our generation, because it's now our time. It's the younger generation's time. It's the new entrepreneurs' time. It's the new writers, the new creators. It's time to step up. It's time to put your ideas out there. It's time to take that chance. I honestly believe the next Harry Potter level writer is just around the corner, because as a culture, as a Anglosphere, as a Western culture, we've kind of, well, we're collapsing. We're not collapsing in that. I think the same morals and stuff are still generally held by the majority of people. What we're seeing basically is, going back to gaming, your AAA games and gaming companies extincting themselves because they refuse to take risks, they refuse to change with the times, or they are changing with the times but they're changing the wrong way. And sooner or later, yes, I'm not saying Microsoft's going to go bankrupt, but Xbox has already started firing people. So the question is just, how much money does Xbox have to lose before Microsoft decide to pull the plug? I don't think we're actually a million miles away from that. You know, it's not an impossibility. I'm not saying they're going to do it, I just don't think it's an impossibility. But what I am saying is the opportunity's there for the void that all these companies are leaving. The open goals, World Cup's on, innit? The open goals are there for tap-ins. So I think it's a good thing if you've got any sort of creative bones in your body, get out there, take the chance, found that business, get your mates together, get down in the garage and start programming or start writing. Whatever you have to lose at this point, and the upside's significantly higher because the standing competition is the weakest it's probably ever been in the last 20, 30 years. So go for it. And with that, I'll conclude this video. Thank you very much for your attention. What do you think about Microsoft's apparent decline? Please let me know in the comments below. And I'll see you in the next one. You've been listening to Gameplaycasts. All that's left for me to say is sayonara. Oh, and of course, Caribou.